Welcome, welcome. Today in the Cheapo Spotlight, brand new from HSF Tools, a thermal camera that looks amazing. The all-new P2W. Is it a thermal camera extraordinaire? Let's find out. Nice black box, sturdy as ever. Cardboard, this thing is well protected. And not only is it well protected, it comes in a supplementary and complimentary sturdy carrying case. Look at that. Doesn't have the logo. HSF Tools logo, that's too bad, but that's okay. It's still a nice, solid clamshell style carrying case. Really nicely made, actually. Good, solid, heavy-duty zipper. Let's just open this up, and there we go. Let's start off with the accessories. Of course, this is rechargeable, so we have our rechargeable cable over here. And what else do we get? Well, a little carrying strap that connects to the thermal camera itself. And of course, who was that guy? Yes, it is none other than the P2W. And I'm telling you, this thing is in there solid. What the? Oh, wow. Definitely, that thing is in there snug. Good looking. Wow, this thing is robust. Feeling very nice in the hand. This is very, very well made. HSF Tools pocket thermal camera. Right there, of course, on the back of the Lee meter, we have our camera lens, thermal imaging lens, and our power button, the on-off button as well. We'll just hold that down for a second, turn on the meter. Let's see if it's charged or not. Maybe not. Oh, and maybe yes. Okay, so it's charged. Booting up right now. What is that? 2, 3, 4 seconds for that HSF Tools logo to boot, and bada boom, bada bing. We are instantly, well, almost instantly, into the thermal camera software itself. Or should I say firmware? I mean, there's, a lot of people get confused, but it's not really software. It's not an OS per se. It's just a firmware that is booting up. HSF Tools again on the back or underneath. 2 buttons. This thing is very minimalist in design. We got that power button, and we have what is basically the shooting button. Of course, on the side was that USB-C, and here we are with our little strap hinge. And we get a basic HSF Tools manual. Now you can skew that barcode for more info from HSF Tools directly from their website. Overview, important info. Now, one thing I'm noticing is no pictures, no graphical representation of what you're getting in terms of a graphical user interface, that sort of thing. So, okay, they saved a little bit here, perhaps. Would have been nice to see a few images to go, along with that explanation. Hey, picture's worth 1,000 words. Anyway, there you go. That's the user manual. Get a thank you card as well. Thank you for your purchase. Very nice. Okay, one thing I really love about this handheld thermal camera is the fact that you've got that nice tripod mount. Let's get that in focus. There we go. There is the tripod mount, and it simply will insert into that universal tripod like so. I believe that's a 1/4 inch. And once it's inserted, look at that. Look at that beauty. So if you want to go hands-free, you certainly can with the P2W. And depending on what you are or aren't doing, this can come in really handy. Now, of course, one of the great things about this camera is the fact that it's just so darn portable. So you might not use this feature at all. But if you do need some sort of a stationary mount, rest assured that tripod mount is built into the camera. And depending on your tripod, of course, it's going to free up an extra hand and just make, long-term imaging, graphing, what have you, a lot easier. Once again, this is really solid device. Just messing around here, taking a couple of pics. So you can see image automatically comes up. Hit that home button, and we go into our image directory. Yeah, that's right. It's touchscreen. Oh, and this thing is very, very reactive. I'm barely touching on the screen. You can see the image just pops up that I just took. Very, very easy to navigate this device. And, considering this is a pretty well loaded thermal camera, hit that settings button again, and there we are. Temperature measurement settings, connections, display settings, capture settings, all there. Now I've got it down on the side just to make it a little bit easier to give you a little look-see. Start off with the network as well. Well, you can have a hotspot, you can do Bluetooth, connect it to your wireless. So in terms of network settings, lots going on. Display settings, time and date, screen brightness. Right now I've got it turned down to low. We turn it up high. And look at that. Now, I like it on low personally. I mean, it's bright enough for me. Hey, your mileage may vary, but at least you have that option to bring it up. Of course, you can go into your different temperature settings, Celsius, Fahrenheit. Now, I'm in Canada, so of course I'm leaving it on Celsius. And look at that. Yes, we actually have an onboard macro mode. We'll get more into that in a little bit, but macro mode onboard. The overlay there, 2 megapixel, 5 megapixel, 8 megapixel, depending on the resolution you want for your images. File name, videos, because yes, this does do videos as well. Saves it into the MP4 format, histogram or linear, whatever you want for your color distribution. Auto power off. And if we do the about here, and here we are, firmware version 5.572. I have not updated the firmware since I received this thermal camera. Not sure if there's a firmware update online, but you know what? It's been just beauty. So I really, once again, when it comes to firmware, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Unless there's new feature functionality, feature sets coming out, you don't always have to update to the latest firmware. I'm really curious to know what the weight is of this device. It feels heavy, but it doesn't look that heavy. And what do we have? 237 grams. Okay, that is not that heavy. Perfect. Let's start off with my dog, Hugo, my little miniature schnauzer. Hi, Hugo. Thanks for being a part of Keep On Testing today. Look at that. Look at the picture quality here. Booyah. I mean, not only is he a good-looking dog, well, of course I'm going to say that right, but you get a lot on that screen. Maximum, minimum, we have those different temperature sensors showing us the display points, the hot, the cold. Of course, when it comes to thermal cameras, that white is the heat. The darker the image, the less heat. And Hugo's just taking a bit of a snooze here. He's very chillaxed when it comes to being on YouTube, He has no stage fright whatsoever. Once you're in there, look at that. You've got your fusion controls. This is all different display settings. Of course, I'm going to leave it on the thermal camera. Hey, it's what works for me. Just going through the different settings here, you can see you've got options. You're not stuck with one look. So, hey, everybody's different. Everybody has a different palette. You can zoom again. Now, this is a digital zoom if you want. So if you don't want, well, you don't have to worry about it. But once again, the contrast, the resolution, very sharp. Isn't that sharp? I'm telling you, this thing just looks like $1,000,000. Everything is saved by default into an album of the day, so to speak. Take a peek at that in just a second. And I'm just using a little button on the top right to take a picture. And when we go into that folder, there are the pictures I've just took. So super duper easy. Okay, we're at the soldering bench now. And you know what? Let's take a look at this little HIKMICRO tip cleaner because I was a little concerned about this. Now, you plug it in and that's it. There's no on-off button, what have you. And, I've never been too sure about, what is this thing doing? Been plugged in for a day, an hour, a week, who knows what? But I mean, is it actually generating any sort of power? Does the power just invoke when you're cleaning your tip? I want to know. Well, guess what? We're going to turn on that thermal camera and we're going to find out, is this thing generating any heat? Just being on, not being used. All right, so let's get that thermal camera set up and running. And here we go. Looking at our little HIKMICRO tip cleaner. HIKMICRO? I always say HIKMICRO. I think it's HIKMICRO. I'm sorry, but just like soldering, soldering. How many people tell me, why do I say soldering? I just do. Deal with it. All right. Now, you can see, look at that where my finger is. There is heat. This machine is not being used right now. Look, it's already generating heat. Now, according to that target temperature sensor, it's around 24 degrees Celsius, just sitting there doing nothing. Haven't even turned it on, haven't even used it, and it's already generating some heat. You can tell with that white contrast coming up, that is where the heat is. And that is, a little disturbing. Why is it already generating heat when I'm not even using it? So, thanks to the miracles of thermal cams, we can see right away that this little device is indeed generating some heat. And it's only been on for, what, a minute? This thing has not been on in at least a couple of weeks. So, already it is white, it is hot. And you know what? Look at the temperature now. It's up to 28 degrees after a couple of minutes. 28 degrees. And that little HAKO tip cleaner is getting warmer. Good to know. So off the get-go, this tells me that when I am out and about, I'm going to manually unplug it from the device itself, just so it's not, because I was thinking maybe it's passive, right? Maybe it's not going to generate any heat, but according to that thermal camera, it sure as heck is generating heat by doing nothing. All right, so let's just go into display settings here for a second. Go into this macro mode. Turn it on. Whoopsie. Try that again. There we are. Oh, no, just once. Come on, Darren. Back into, no. Capture settings, macro mode. Okay, you get the idea. Hit it and wait a millisecond and it will trigger the on or off. Okay, we're in macro mode now. And once again, this is not a macro lens, like a physical lens per se. This is strictly a digital macro. So you're probably not going to get quite the same resolution as if you had an actual physical macro lens. Now, that being said, it still has that macro capability and it still looks a little clearer close up than your standard non-macro image. Now I'm moved over to another HAKO soldering station, and once again it's generating heat. You know what, let's take this soldering iron tip now. We are maxed out at 160 degrees centigrade with this thermal camera by the looks of it, at least right now. And that tip is definitely hotter. That tip is set for about 350 degrees centigrade, so it is maxed on those settings at this point. But look at that arrow. See that red tip? That is just following the tip, and it is telling us right now what our max, it has reached the maximum current temperature thermal capability right there. Now, I don't know if I can go higher. I have to play in the settings and find out, but right now it is maxed out at 160 on the tip. Anyway, really cool. And look at that. Go into the different palettes again. Here, let's hit the settings button again. And we are on super resolution. Turning the macro mode off. Going to see if it makes any difference or not. So yeah, you can see it's just a little less contrasty in non-macro mode. Now, of course, if you're, doing a boiler or a water heater, what have you, you don't want it in macro. Macro is strictly when you're looking at something small, minute, a PCB, what have you, a small, anything small. It's going to be macro if you want better detail. Otherwise, leave it on the non-macro setting to get the best image. And I gotta say once again, now I'm on macro mode, and look at that. We keep getting an image calibrating coming up here. That's a little weird. Hang on a second. What's going on? I'm gonna zoom out here for a second, see what's going on. So I'm in macro mode, and it's still, you see that? It's still triggering that calibration. What the heck is going on? Image calibrating. Why? Inquiring minds want to know. That's annoying. Very interesting. So I'm going to go back into the menu here and into those capture settings. I'm going to, oh, that was not in macro mode. That was macro was disabled and it was acting freaky. I am sorry. So it's the reverse. So when it's not when it is in macro mode, I'm not getting that auto calibration. Isn't that bizarre? So when it's in macro mode, no problem. No auto calibrating every 2 seconds. Just when it was in non-macro, was it acting weird? Oh my goodness, that is a little bizarre. So here we are in macro mode, and it's working just fine. Yeah, I wonder if there's a firmware update for this. I'm going to have to do my due diligence and find out. So that's a little weird. It shouldn't be happening, auto-calibrating every second like that in non-macro mode. Let's go back to that little Hako and see if it's gotten any hotter. And holy jeez, it has. Over 41 degrees Celsius now. Just sitting there doing nothing. I haven't turned it on. I haven't done any tip cleaning. And it is getting hotter, so that has me a little worried. I'm wondering now, if I leave this for a day, what is it going to be? Oh, very good to know. I honestly wish I would have done this a little sooner, but wow. Okay, so now we're looking at the microscope here, and look at the image quality once again. Stellar image quality on the P2W. Absolutely gorgeous. Whoa, now we're still in macro mode. And taking another picture here of another soldering machine. So simple. And now we're doing a video. So just by hitting the right trigger button, holding down for about 2 seconds, it automatically invokes the video capability. Now that Hako station has gone to sleep, we are still recording. This thing is just so simple to use. It's a no-brainer. I mean, if you're worried about picking up a thermal camera and thinking, oh my gosh, you know, the tech is just too beyond, you know, I can't. Yeah, you can. Something like the P2W is uber simple. Anybody can use this device and get great results. Here we are with that video I just took, and look at that. Just click on the video itself. Bada boom, bada bing, bada bang, and there's the video. Click the play button. And there we are, simple as that. Of course, you can download these to your PC, not a problem, but that screen is so big and gorgeous, why bother? I mean, hey, if you don't need that for some sort of a backup, you know, you can see everything you need on that big, bright, contrasty screen. Gorgeous, 8 megs visual resolution, 256 by 192 thermal resolution. This is a high-res device. Here we are again in macro mode. And I did double check, and yes, we can change the settings to have it go up to 400 degrees Celsius. That's over 750 degrees Fahrenheit, so it can go a lot higher than 160. They call this super resolution imaging, and I can see why, because boy, oh boy, that image is absolutely stellar. Here we are in macro mode and non-macro mode, just showing you the differences. And you can see there is a definite benefit to having it in macro mode, because you do get a little bit more contrast when you're looking close up. Once again, that 3.5-inch high-resolution touchscreen is stellar. Absolutely gorgeous. Now I've got it back into macro mode, and you can see the contrast a little bit better. Now, once again, not as good as a standard glass, you know, dedicated macro lens, a physical lens, but all things considered, you definitely get that macro capability digitally when you put it in macro mode, and that's a bonus. Doing PCB electronics, macro mode is definitely something you want to have. The fact that we have both MP4 video capability as well as those still images, I mean, hey, what more can you ask? Now, if I was doing any serious PCB work right now, I'd probably have it on the tripod, because it just frees up your hands, obviously, and you can work on your whatever it is you're working on, free up your hands, and still have a real lifetime feed of what's going on. What an uber great device to work with. Okay, gonna come back with my closing thoughts. Closing thoughts on HSF Tools P2W Thermal Camera Extraordinaire. This thing is very, very nice. Wow, what great thermal imaging, both graphical as well as video. Man, it looks amazing. Now, I gotta say, a little stumped as to why I kept getting the auto calibration in the non-macro mode. I'm still trying to figure that one out, so stay tuned. I will post an update on the Keep On Testing website just to let you know if maybe a firmware update fixed that snafu. But that being said, gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. What a great camera. HIKMICRO's HSF Tools P2W gets a solid 4 out of 5 stars. Thanks for watching, everybody. Till the next one, keep on testing.